All right, Chiefs Kingdom, it's that time again. Rookie minicamp is here. And while it might not have the same buzz as Week 1 or a playoff showdown, make no mistake, this is a huge moment for the future of the Kansas City Chiefs. This weekend, over 60 young players are stepping onto the field at the Chiefs training facility, trying to prove they belong. We're talking all 7 of Kansas City's draft picks, more than a dozen undrafted free agents, and over 40 tryout players. That's a crowded house, and for the undrafted guys in particular, every single rep counts. Now, here's the thing. Nobody's wearing pads. There's no live contact. This isn't about blowing someone up or making the highlight reel with a huge hit. What it is a mental and technical proving ground. It's a chance to show coaches you can learn the playbook, stay locked in, and move with confidence. It's the first real look at whether a guy fits the Chiefs' culture and whether he can survive the jump to the NFL level. For undrafted players especially, this weekend is make or break. They know they weren't picked. They know they've got to go harder, sharper, and smarter just to get noticed. But that's also why this part of the offseason is so fun to watch, because you see who really wants it. Every year, there are names nobody's talking about who suddenly rise up and force their way onto the 53-man roster. It doesn't always start with hype. Sometimes it starts on a practice field in May, with no crowd, no lights, just grit. And honestly, I think the Chiefs might have found a few gems in this year's undrafted class. But before we break down those names, I want to ask you something. Do you believe undrafted players have a real shot to make the final roster? Drop a yes or no in the comments. I want to see what you think. And hey, if you love stories about hungry underdogs trying to make their NFL dreams come true, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. I promise we'll be covering all of it. Coming up next, we're talking about 2 of the most exciting skill players in this rookie group. Guys who can catch, move, and score. Let's start with a tight end who broke records at Clemson and a wide receiver who didn't drop a single pass last season. Let's kick things off with a name that really jumps out. Jake Briningstool, the tight end out of Clemson. This dude checks a lot of boxes for what Andy Reid and the Chiefs look for in a modern offensive weapon. He's 6'5", 241 pounds, and he moves like a wide receiver. Briningstool lined up in the slot on over 60% of his snaps over the last 2 seasons. That's not your typical inline tight end. He's what coaches call a move tight end, the kind of guy you can flex out wide, match up on linebackers or safeties, and just let him go to work. And he's been productive, too. In the past 2 seasons, Briningstool pulled in 99 catches, went over 1,000 receiving yards, and found the end zone 12 times. That's not just solid, it's record-setting. His 127 career receptions are the most by a tight end in Clemson history. Let that sink in. Now get this. On Dane Brugler's big board from The Athletic, Briningstool was ranked as the 10th best tight end in the draft and was projected as a 5th-round pick. So yeah, the fact that the Chiefs scooped him up as an undrafted free agent, that's a straight-up steal. But it doesn't stop there. Let's talk Elijah Badger, the wide receiver who transferred from Arizona State to Florida last season and didn't miss a beat. All he did was lead the Gators in receiving, racking up 806 yards on the year. But here's what really stands out. He didn't drop a single pass on 61 targets. That's right, 0 drops. He also averaged over 20 yards per catch, which put him in a pretty elite category. Only 5 receivers in the entire FBS managed that kind of explosiveness last season. And if you're wondering about speed, yeah, he's got that too. Badger ran a 4.43 in the 40 at the Combine. So he's fast, reliable, and dangerous after the catch. This is exactly the kind of player that could thrive with Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense. Think about it. Mahomes loves guys who can create separation and make big plays after the catch. Badger fits that mold perfectly. So between Briningstool's versatility and red zone potential, and Badger's deep threat ability with sure hands, the Chiefs might have landed 2 serious offensive weapons without spending a single draft pick. Now I want to know if You had to pick one of these guys to make the final roster. Who would it be? Jake Briningstool or Elijah Badger? Drop your answer in the comments and tell me why you're going with your pick. And hey, would you be excited to see one of these undrafted guys catch touchdowns from Mahomes this year? Vote yes or no down below. Next up, we're heading into the trenches. Let's talk about some of the big boys on the offensive and defensive lines who are ready to fight for a roster spot. Don't sleep on these linemen. Now let's shift our focus to the big guys up front, the ones who do the dirty work in the trenches. Because no matter how flashy your offense is, it all starts with protection. And the Chiefs might have found some real gems on the offensive line. First up is Dalton Cooper, a left tackle out of Oklahoma State. He's a 6'5", 326-pound mountain of a man, and he brings some serious experience to the table. Cooper started 19 games at left tackle for the Cowboys over the last 2 years. And before that, he logged 36 starts at Texas State. That's 55 career starts. That kind of consistency and durability doesn't go unnoticed. But here's the stat that really turns heads. Cooper didn't allow a single sack last season on 285 pass-blocking snaps. That's against Big 12 competition. He's battle-tested, disciplined, and strong in pass protection. For a team always looking to keep Patrick Mahomes upright, that matters a lot. Now let's talk about another under-the-radar lineman, Issa Piture, from Washington State. This guy was a rock on the edge last season. Nearly 500 pass-blocking snaps and not a single sack allowed. That's elite-level efficiency, even if he didn't come from a blue blood program. When you look at guys like Cooper and Peter, you're seeing players who have already proven they can handle the workload and pressure of starting roles. And that's not something you can coach. These aren't raw projects. They're plug-and-play depth with potential to develop into more. In a world where offensive line depth is always at a premium, especially in a long, grinding NFL season, guys like these can be the difference between a clean pocket and a busted play. So don't be surprised if one of them sneaks onto the final roster or becomes a game day elevation when the injuries start piling up mid-season. Now I gotta ask you, who do you think is more likely to stick on the 53-man roster? Cooper with his Big 12 experience or Peter with his elite pass-blocking numbers? Let me know in the comments. And real quick, if you're enjoying this breakdown and love seeing how these lesser-known players could shape the future of the Chiefs, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss any updates as we track these guys through camp. Coming up, we're flipping over to the defensive side because some of these undrafted defenders have numbers that straight up jump off the page. One linebacker's vertical leap is just insane. Let's talk defense next. All right, let's talk defense. Because this undrafted class isn't just about offense and protection. There are some serious playmakers on the defensive side of the ball who could shake things up in camp. Starting with linebacker Brandon George out of Pitt. This guy played 717 defensive snaps last season alone, so you know he's used to being on the field, calling shots, and making plays. He racked up 80 total tackles, 26 pressures, and 5.5 tackles for loss. Oh, and 3 forced fumbles. That's the kind of aggression and ball awareness you love to see in a linebacker. But it doesn't end there. George put together one of the more eye-popping pro days of anyone in this class. The man logged a 42.5-inch vertical jump at 6'3", 246 pounds. That's freaky athleticism. That kind of explosion could make him a real asset on special teams right away. And don't sleep on him as a rotational linebacker with room to grow in Spagnuolo's system. Then there's Glendon Miller, a safety out of Maryland. He's a big physical presence, 6'3", 207 pounds, and he lined up mostly in the slot last year. That makes him super valuable in today's NFL, where tight ends and big slot receivers are more common than ever. He has a ball hawk mentality too, with 7 interceptions over the last 2 seasons. And just like George, Miller's pro day was impressive. He ran a 4.44 40-yard dash and hit a 38-inch vertical. If he had been at the combine, that vertical would have ranked 4th among all safeties. That's the kind of speed and burst that defensive coordinators drool over. Another defensive name you gotta know is Melvin Smith Jr., a cornerback out of Southern Arkansas. Now, this guy's production is just ridiculous. 35 passes defensed and 9 interceptions over the past 2 years. That's not a typo. Those are shutdown corner numbers. And he ran a blazing 4.39 at his pro day. Talk about making a statement. And finally, let's show some love to the big man in the middle, defensive tackle Josiah Izzard from Penn State. He played in 51 games during his college career. At 298 pounds, he showed off some serious bounce with a 33.5-inch vertical. That's rare for a guy that size. He's explosive, he's experienced, and he's battle-tested in the Big Ten trenches. The theme here is athleticism and production. These guys weren't just role players. They were standouts on their teams. And now they're getting the shot to prove they belong in the NFL right here in Kansas City. Here's a fun one. If you had to pick one undrafted defender to make the roster, who's your bet? George the linebacker, Miller the safety, Smith the ball-hawking corner, or Izzard the interior beast? Hit the comments and drop your pick. Also, would you like to see one of these guys become the next Tershawn Wharton or Charvarius Ward for the Chiefs? Let's get a yes or no vote down below. All right, time to wrap things up with a few more names who could make a splash, including the best punter in college football last year. Stick with me. This last group might just surprise you. Let's bring it home with a few final names you need to keep on your radar, because this last group of undrafted free agents, they might not get the spotlight, but they've got real potential to sneak onto this roster, especially through special teams. First up is Eddie Czaplicki, the punter out of USC. Now, I know punters don't usually move the needle, but hear me out. Czaplicki won the Ray Guy Award last year, which goes to the top punter in college football. That's not nothing. He's got a big leg, great directional control, and most importantly, he's consistent. Special teams can flip field position and change games. And while Tommy Townsend left a big void, Czaplicki could be the guy to fill it. Then we've got wide receiver Eric Brooks out of Fresno State. He's one of only 7 FBS receivers last season to record at least 5 catches of 50-plus yards. That tells you 2 things. He's explosive, and he can stretch the field. But what might give him an edge? He brings special teams experience, which is crucial for guys trying to earn a final roster spot. Kick return, punt return, being able to do both can be your ticket to staying in the NFL. And here's a sleeper you'll want to remember. Melvin Smith Jr., the corner from Southern Arkansas. We talked about his elite production and blazing speed, but don't forget, undrafted corners who show instincts and ball skills have made this team before. Guys like Charvarius Ward didn't just come out of nowhere. They came out of opportunities like this. Also worth watching, defensive tackle Josiah Izzard, who we mentioned earlier. 51 games played, power, burst, and grit. That's the kind of interior depth every team needs heading into the grind of an NFL season. These players might be long shots, but they're not throwaways. The Chiefs have a history of finding talent in this stage of the offseason. We've seen it before. And if even 1 or 2 of these guys stick, it could be a game changer. Not just for them, but for the entire roster dynamic. So, Chiefs Kingdom, let's wrap this up with one last fan check-in. Which undrafted free agent has you the most excited heading into training camp? Drop a name in the comments and let's start the hype train early. And hey, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any updates. We'll be tracking these guys all summer long, from rookie camp to preseason action. If someone's turning heads, you'll hear about it here first. This has been Total Chiefs News. Thanks for riding with me through this deep dive into Kansas City's 2025 undrafted free agents. I'll catch you in the next one. Go Chiefs!